What's up guys, it's Drac, and this is the XC by Foam Night, which is a brand new blaster company doing something cool and 3D printed. As I've joked before, it seems like we get a new one of these every month, and how fortunate we are to have so many options, such a robust landscape of independent designers and manufacturers. Now, a full kit in this configuration will set you back $150, which sounds like a lot when you compare it to the garbage that Hasbro's putting out there. When you compare it to other 3D printed blasters and, manufactured blaster bits out there, it's actually remarkably affordable. It's pretty on par with what you'd pay for a built Caliburn from the originator himself. So a bare bones Caliburn versus this is pretty cool actually. And it's got a lot in common with the Caliburn. We're gonna go ahead and get that out of the way. A lot of things are somewhat Caliburn-Derivative. Hashtag thanks slug. But we've got a full length K26 style primary, with priming bars up here done in aluminum and a spring powered prime. So that's all the way back. Let's go ahead and tell you a little bit more about this blaster because it's got a lot of wild stuff going on. So the first thing that you need to understand is this shoots 3 different kinds of ammo right out of the package. That is to say, it'll shoot Mega, it'll shoot Rival ammo, and it'll shoot 50 caliber ammunition, which is really like 4 kinds of ammo because with an adapter, obviously 50 cal can be half length, and that's the only way to shoot it these days, I think. I don't do a lot of full-length foam flinging anymore outside of, basic review processes and standard design consulting and such. So I'm a big fan of the fact that it's compatible in that route. This is the Elite adapter configuration in here, and Foam Night was oh so kind as to send mine in the traditional Drac color scheme, which is a little bit of Halloween, some red, some black, and of course an orange tip for safety, as well as some of the controlling bits. I've got mine primed back right now so that you can see loading in this is pretty easy. You would obviously use the Elite, quote-unquote, standard, the in-strike standard there, mag release. Now, of course, the adapter will let you just swap out your half lengths at will. Again, major shout out to Dart Zone. It's super duper cool that their adapter takes talons. It's taken a lot of the guesswork out of the hobby for us that this will just handle all half length magazines. So priming forward into our barrel, we have a pretty serious straight shooting primary. This gets over 200 FPS as well it should. That's after all a full length K26. And even though it's a printed pusher, it gets a pretty decent air seal into that barrel and seems to be shooting the rubber tips off of my my worker darts, which is why we should be using better darts anyway. We've got one more. Let's go ahead and put it down this way. And oh no, we're now officially out of half-length darts. So what are we gonna do? How are we gonna switch into these? Well, normally I would jump cut and be like, we've changed into a different barrel, a different configuration, a different what have you. But I actually want you guys to see how simple, how toolless it is to take this very ergonomically, very aesthetically inspired design, because this is a beautiful Caliburn design. It's got a lot of variable options on it. It's got a lot of things going for it. And it's very innovative in the way that it uses all metric hardware, and it's doing something pretty special, and that special thing is this. So I'm gonna make sure I get this order of operations correct. I'm pretty confident step 1 is clear the breech, then open this up, then push this in and separate the blaster. Now you could separate it all the way, or you could just go halfway. After you've done that, you can go ahead and remove your Elite barrel of the blaster. It's got some spacers in there to make sure that it fits nicely. Then push this button down, remove that mag well. Now you could just about stop there, except you need to take this sleeve, tease it into here, line it up and pull it back down. Then I think that can go down. We're gonna go ahead and take this barrel. You might notice it's a pretty chungus OD there, a much heavier barrel for sure. Push this button down, bring that down, let that connect into place, close that up top, and we should be in Mega configuration. Now you'll know that there's no adapter in here, and that's because all of the adapters are sized for Centurion magazine sizing, which is to say that this genuine Centurion mag fits in like that, comes down like that, and is in fact primed and ready to go. So that was pretty quick and easy. All things considered, for a toolish change of an entire caliber for a Springer system, that's pretty cool. If you heard that ricochet off of the door, it's not a joke what this thing does with Megas. Like, these are pretty serious, and honestly, it's the most fun I've had with a Mega Blaster in a while since they started going full electronic. But overall, I mean, a pretty serious high caliber blaster in that regard. Now, if you want to do Rival, there's a sleeve for that too. And again, I just want to show you the whole process because honestly, it's kind of fun how configurable this whole thing is. So again, we're going to drop our magazine, prime the blaster, open this up like that, and pull this back and out. I actually think that the only major thing we need to change here is the pusher. I think that that's a swap of this pusher out here for this for this pusher here. Make sure that that's twisted, quarter turned into place. We're gonna go ahead and remove the relatively heavy barrel. Click that back into place, click that back into place. Now there is no actual like barrel. You just have an open tube for your rival configuration. You can do that either way. I think I'm supposed to put it in backwards and click in like that. No big deal, no muss, no fuss. And then this funky contraption here with a exposed spring as its release is the sleeve that you slide into your mag well, pushing down the compliant mechanism there to get that into place. And now you have what is effectively a rival burn in the same blaster. Now, I wouldn't be too reliant on the mag release, at least in mine. Like, nothing is perfect, and this is one of the first XCs out the door. Mine, the magazine will fall out on, and if you look at it, it's really an exercise in, how do I get this out? Because of how small the mag release nub is in there, and that's designed that way so that the regular mag release will also drop your magazine, and you have to really push it, finagle it, to get the entire sleeve out. But it will work if we go ahead and do this like so. We are in like Flynn, and we can prime and fire, and it's definitely hitting harder than any nothing's perfect, right guys? I think that I might have to mess with those. That is a genuine rival magazine in the spirit of fair play, but it did fall out of my XC. That said, the mechanism is good. It might require some tinkering. I know that they're constantly adapting and revising, but it's pretty sweet. Aesthetically, I think that it's tough to beat. This looks like a full toy. The lack of super exposed hardware, the kind of organic curvature around the plunger tube, and all of these detents and mechanical adaptations on it really leads to a very like solid feel of the blaster. And I think that these guys have a bright, bright future. This is a collaboration between an artist that's pretty well known in the NIC at this point, who goes by Hotcoin. He does like, you know, kind of fantasy, not necessarily practical sketches of theoretical fantasy blasters, and a prop maker who I'm not super duper familiar with his work, but clearly knows how to do assembly and has the 3D printing aspect down. These are very clean prints done at a reasonable resolution, and assembled with love. I mean, these are separate sections for printability that are honestly very, very smooth in their overall construction. So like, between, you know, the art and the engineering and the fabrication here, it seems like that duo has a very promising feature. I'm gonna try one more time here to fire off a couple more rival rounds. But nope. All right, so I could change it back. I could take it outside, but we've had just a string of awful weather here in the southern United States for a while. If you're not familiar with the news right now, a lot of people are experiencing ice for the first time. And I'm just not willing to fool with it. My entire backyard being made of moss is a mud pit. It's just sort of yucky, and it would definitely affect the numbers and the blaster being out in that kind of swampy, cold environment. So I'll go ahead and tell you that with half-links, this shoots a little over 200. With Mega and Rival, it's shooting well above 100 FPS, but your mileage is gonna vary depending upon a lot of different factors. Right now, mine's configured with a K26, a printed plunger, and I've extended the variable stock back here just a little bit. You can see there is a mechanism in the back by which you can add shims and space your stock out, which gives it a very real steel-esque kind of look there in the back, but also hidden behind there is a quick change for your spring. So if you want to, you know, reduce or increase the power, a lot of features were put into this blaster to make it as variable as it possibly could. And normally when you cram a lot of those conveniences into something like this, you get an inherent fragility to the blaster. All of those delicate mechanisms that allow you to switch and re-sleeve and recaliber and change springs and blah, 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 usually come at a price. But in this case, the whole blaster is rock solid. I think that it's, you know, a lot of plastic went into building it, obviously. Everything is shelled nicely, and I have nothing but nice things to say about it. It's a little finagly in some of the bits, but overall, aesthetically, very beautiful. Design, you know, really solid. It looks good and performs well, and it's priced very, very fairly. The step files, I believe, or at least the STL files, are available on foamnight.com. If you want to pick up one of these up, you can print your own and buy just the hardware kit for 75 bones, or you could buy a complete blaster for a little over 100, or you could buy a complete blaster with all of the sleeves, all of the barrels, everything you need to do to do everything in this video for about 150 bones, which is pretty fair given the state of the hobby and the state of making and all of the love and design that went into this. I think that it's a really cool pickup. I definitely enjoy playing with it. I'm hopeful that sometime this year we'll be able to get out and I'll be able to really put it through its paces at Nessie and Sea War. The only other thing that I want to mention in this video, as long as I have your attention, and again, like, thank you so much. If you're still like watching the video at this point after I've kind of collected my thoughts and delivered the entirety of the review to you, that means a lot to me, truly. And I'm at a crossroads right now with something that I've been working on professionally for a while that I'm excited to talk about really soon, but also with just like an interesting piece of hobby housekeeping. We have evolved so far beyond the scope of what this used to be called. It used to be called NIC, which is Nerf Internet Community. It used to be called Nerfing, but clearly Nerf no longer serves what we do, nor do we serve them. So it's not Nerfing anymore. NIC doesn't really encompass what we do. And we've come to this point where like, we don't want to be married to something like that. As the sport is evolving and taking on its own flavor and character, what should we be calling what, for a lack of a better term, is competitive Nerf? I've heard a lot of different things. There's certain foreign aspects of the hobby that want to go with Dartsoft, which is just about the worst name I can think of for what we do, because it marries us way too closely to Airsoft and would limit our ability to play in public spaces. It's just not a good brand perception from either a formal marketing perception or from kind of a categorical way to talk about our hobby. I don't personally like Dartsoft, and I'm not gonna surrender to it. The microcosms of our hobby that think that that's the one, I think are, they exist in places where things like Airsoft and paintball aren't readily available, and so they've chosen to go with that because there's no cost to doing that for them. But given that the majority of the hobby is still in North America, I think that we need to come up with something really good to call the sport. So the question becomes, what do we call it? Nerf modding was really good for a while because it is easy to understand. It's, you know, public perception is pretty good, but the problem with it is that it doesn't adequately describe what we do any longer. An average competitive loadout, in fact, has no Hasbro plastic in it anymore. So in a world where we're using, you know, aftermarket magazines and aftermarket and homemade blasters, and that is the top end of the hobby, we don't want to make the mistake of marrying one company either. So over here at Eighth or Not, we've been kicking around 3 different options. I've been throwing around quick foam, fast foam, and speed foam. They're all a little derivative of other things, but they're, you know, uniquely Nerf, uniquely foam flinging in that respect. And I'm kind of calling on you guys in the comment section down below, help me out. I've racked my brain over this problem for months. I need to come up with something that I can refer to this as professionally, and we have to kind of start rolling that ball forward into some of our events. It needs to be the umbrella by which we do things like 5v5 at Ragnarok and the Foam Pro Tour, where we tend to play, you know, with atomic rules. So it's a complicated problem. One person is not equipped to solve it. I've been talking to other community leaders about it, and we're all kind of in agreement that it's definitely not going to be Dartsoft, but in a world where that's the only option out there right now, we just can't surrender to stupidity for surrendering's sake. So let's come up with something great. Give me some feedback in the comment section down below. If you like any of the 3 options that I've been floating around, definitely tell me which one you think is better and why. And if you've got something that you, maybe in your neighborhood or your cul-de-sac, call, you know, high-level foam flinging, definitely lay it on me because I'm looking for something good. I'd love something with a little bit of alliteration. Paintball is a perfect name for what paintballers do. Airsoft honestly makes no sense, but it's ubiquitous, so there you go. And we need something that's uniquely our hobby that we can all kind of stand under the shade of together, because that is ultimately how we will progress as a hobby, as a sport, as a craft, is together. The rising tide, after all, raises all boats. Thank you guys so much for your feedback. Thank you so much for watching this review video. Definitely check out Foam Night in the description box below. I do not see these guys being a one-shot wonder. Like, I think that there will be more cool stuff to come from this collaboration, and I, for one, am very excited to see it. Much love. Blast on. Drac out.